foam melts, which it's bubbling a lot, so it is reacting. Well, 15 minutes later, and I think it's pretty clear that contact cement is not safe on foam. Definitely melted. I'm gonna stick it together anyway and see how it cuts after. It's too bad because, man, that is an instant bond. Got weights on all of these thanks to Baba's Preserves. I'm gonna let these all sit for 24 hours and then I'm gonna take them to the hot wire cutter and see how they fare in test number 2. Okay, coming back to this a few minutes later, and even with the weight on top, the expanding foam started to shift the foam apart. So the weight's not gonna work, but I want this one to have a chance. So I'm actually just gonna clamp this together and see if it fares better that way. We'll see how that does. 24 hours later, and it's time to really put these glues to the test. Let's see if they can be cut on the hot wire once dry, because if they can't, then they're a failure. Let's see. All right, starting here with the Elmer's glue. Had a little trouble starting there, but it does seem to be cutting through the dried glue, no problem. Although maybe that means that the inside is still not dry. But it is not glued. See that? Failure. Now we got the Aleene's Tacky Glue, which may be similar. Broken wire. Back in action. It's more dry than the PVA. You know what? Oh, no, it is still totally wet. Although because it's the tacky glue, it holds it a little bit better. So that's still pretty much a fail. Carpenter's glue. Let's see if this is the same or if the resin additives in the Carpenter's glue make it work a bit better. Cuts no problem. Oh, not even. Absolutely terrible. This is worse. This is way worse than even the plain Elmer's glue. Hot Wire Foam Factory Styro Glue. This is the one that is designed for this, so it sure better work. It smells bad cutting it. Come on, come on. Failure. That is a failure. All right, PL Construction Adhesive. It cuts, but not easily. Here's the real test though. Come on, don't fail me. Oh. Okay, this one is, I was able to pull it apart with a lot of force, but the glue is completely dried. It's interesting how it didn't quite bond. You can actually take it away in a layer. It required a lot of force to come apart. So I'm gonna consider that essentially a success. It's not perfect, but it's workable. No more nails. Cuts no problem. Cuts easier than the PL actually. Still not dry, but it was holding a bit better than the PVA, so that's kind of like a partial fail. Gorilla Glue. Ooh, that's hopeful. Ooh. Wow. I can't get this one apart. So far, absolute best. Great stuff, expanding foam. As you can see, the foam kind of seeped out of everything, but it stayed together since it was clamped. Cutting no problem. Although actually there's a bit of resistance there, more than just the XPS, but cutting through without issue. Oh yeah, that's not coming apart. Not coming apart at all. Totally bonded, success. Super 77, cutting without issue. And I can pull it apart a little bit, but that is strongly bonded, another success. Now this was the contact cement, and there's not really much point testing this because it melted the foam so much that I think this was a failure from the beginning, but I'm curious to see the results here anyway. Oh, well, even with the melting and everything, wow, this is the biggest failure of them all. I gotta say, I am pretty surprised by some of these results here. I really expected the PL and the No More Nails to perform better, and I was really expecting the Gorilla Glue and those other two to kind of all perform the same, but they didn't. The PL and the No More Nails, I would consider a failure, but the Gorilla Glue totally worked. The PVA-based glues, I wasn't surprised that they failed, I was a little surprised that the Carpenter glue was actually the worst of the bunch, but I was expecting those ones to fail. The Super 77 was really the one that surprised me because it was an absolute success and it didn't melt the foam. I'm kind of blown away by this one here. I've used it for many things in the past, but didn't think it would be so good in this application. So what is my final verdict? I think there's 3 options here, each with pros and cons. The Gorilla Glue was easy to use, easy to apply, didn't really smell bad, and it cut really well. I think it probably takes the longest to dry out of the bunch, but that's okay because it still holds it really, really strongly. The Great Stuff expanding foam, this may be the strongest of all the bonds, and it creates an adhesive layer that is essentially just more foam. The downside to it is that it's pretty messy to work with. You can sometimes ruin a bottle if you don't use all of it. It's hard to reuse it later, and it really needs to be clamped together to make sure it doesn't expand and shift. That being said, if you have a lot of pieces to do or big areas and you're gonna use up a whole can, this would be a great option. You just need to make sure you clamp it down. There is another version of this foam. It's the blue can. It's meant for doors and windows, and that stuff doesn't expand as much. It's intentionally designed so you can put it in door and window jambs without it causing the frames to bend as it expands. So that one might actually work a little bit better than this one, but the reason I chose this one is that this one is useful in other crafting applications. You can actually just spray out big mounds of this and make hills and cut it up because it dries hard, whereas the door and window stuff is always very soft and squishy, and you'll have more limited use out of it. And the Super 77, man, if you need to glue 2 pieces of foam together and then immediately keep working on them without any waiting for dry time, this is your guy. This glue killed it. I can't believe it. It's awesome. The downside to it, that this stuff smells awful. It's not something you want to be using indoors all the time, so you want to do it outside, which could be a big inconvenience. But if you have ventilation, or you live somewhere where you're not worried about it being winter all the time, this is awesome, especially if you're in a hurry. These are the best 3 glues for gluing big pieces of foam together, or at least the best out of the 10 I tested. There's more on the market. Check it out. I will put links in the video description to these 3 products. Hopefully they're all available on Amazon. I didn't check yet. I'll put